Welcome back to another ALV podcast.
What up, what up, what up?
Follow us on Instagram at podcast ALV.
And to check out the full YouTube videos, the link's in the bio. Click on it and check them out.
And for all these episodes, including the YouTube videos, go to ALVpodcast.com, and here we go.
Here we go.
Nice. Well, welcome.
Welcome, guys.
For joining us. It's been a long time, long overdue. We haven't seen each other in a hot second, so I'm really excited that you can join us and grace us with your presence.
Absolutely. The honor is definitely mine, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Nice. Well, for everyone that's there, definitely introduce yourself and let everyone know who
Yes, indeed.
you are.
Peace to the world. Peace, love, and light. This is Brother Blue Pill. I'm one half of what's known as the Twin Pillars. I have a twin brother by the name of Red Pill and another brother by the name of KT, the Arch Degree. And we are just some paradigm shifters. It's very hard to read all of our individual bios off, but we are categorically recognized as thought leaders. Prospectively, I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. I've been in media and journalism since 2000. We had a very famous podcast before podcasts had the name podcast from the years of 2010 up into 2017. Know the Ledge Radio was our podcast on Blog Talk Radio. We've been on YouTube collectively together since 2009 as well. I've had a YouTube page since January 1st, 2007. I was once the editor of a newspaper, chief editor of a newspaper called Four Corners. I did that from 2001 to 2005. From 2005 to 2009, I did before it was online, we had a public access. It was like on public TV, public access TV. I had a program called Street Knowledge TV that I did with a business partner named Majesty. And with that brother, I also was hired by Sony Epic in 2007 or 8. I get the dates confused. To head up the online media division of Epic Records. And our very first client for that project was Nipsey Hussle.
Nice.
So we was up there for that. That was the very first online media department in the record industry at all.
Wow.
Yes. We pioneered that. And like I said, around or about 2009, 2010, I branched off and started Know the Ledge Media with my brother, and that incorporated Know the Ledge TV as well as Know the Ledge Radio. And we did that consecutively for 7 years. Back on YouTube after 2017 up until now, just providing different amounts of content. Now we have a streaming network called netterflix.com. NETRFLIX.com, which has a lot of our original content on it. And like I said, as a serial entrepreneur, I have a wellness based business dealing with supplements and minerals called goldwater.com, GOLDEWATER. And we're also part of a global group of thought leaders and paradigm shifters called Paradigm Shifters. Right.
Well, we really appreciate having you here. It's awesome, everything that you've done so far.
Can you explain for people out there what's the benefits of the gold water?
Yes. Gold as a mineral has been in use for over 3,000 years. It traces itself back to ancient Egypt. And when it was utilized in ancient Egypt, it was a youth elixir. What they call the fountain of youth is what gold originally was utilized for, because it repairs damaged DNA and helps rejuvenate cells. So that was initially what it was for. Nowadays, we utilize it for energy, clarity, focus. It's a anti-inflammatory, so We have found that it does profound work with people who have history of migraine headaches, toothaches. It was utilized in Europe in the early 1900s for alcohol addiction. So we've had clients that said that they have kicked their smoking addiction, alcohol addiction, weed addiction. And these are the things that we don't even advertise it to do, right? And it also it decalcifies the pineal gland, which aids and assists people in lucid dreaming. So, like, once again, people, unbeknownst to myself, there's a percentage of people in our population who don't dream in color, who don't control, have any control in their dream state, don't remember their dreams. So we've had,
I'm one of them.
we've had a number of people who have come to us, and all of those different things have been solved in their personal space. But brain fog, that's a big thing now because of the onslaught of blue light toxicity based on social media. Yeah. Just bombarding people's inner regulatory system, their circadian rhythms or what have you is being thrown off. People are waking up in the daytime, almost like how you would if you woke up 2 or 3 in the morning, just disoriented, not knowing where you're at because our bodies are not getting any rest because of the constant signals that we have on, not knowing, you got the blue light from your laptop, your phone, and if the body's not in 100% total darkness, it's not shutting the body down to go to sleep, to do any rest. So the body's picking these signals up and saying, "Oh, it's still daytime" because of the artificial light. So people, I have an article. They said 60% of the quote unquote Americans are reporting that they're still tired. They have issues, and this is all post-COVID research that they're doing, because now people are home all day. You know what I'm saying, and not being told how to actually incorporate their own households to say, look, you might want to turn this off and turn that off. And because now you work from home, don't mean you got to take your work to bed. Right. And that's what people are doing, right? Because they're staying up late. So I'm going to keep my laptop right next to me so I can roll out of bed and just jump right on the laptop in my PJs. And, it's just send some emails and roll back over. And, it's like an extended vacation, but it's taking tolls on people's bodies. And this is going to change the expected life expectancy and everything, because all of this is incorporated into health. So we're just at the forefront, doing whatever is necessary to combat whatever the propaganda is of the moment. We were able to come out with products in real time to really answer some of these problems. You feel me? And then we already had products in circulation that were answers to some of these products. So we've been doing phenomenal,
That's awesome.
in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. So you've seen a lot of people wanting, like reaching out.
Absolutely.
And like wanting help, things like that. I'm kind of.
I feel like right now is a time where a lot of people are like, doing a lot of research on a lot of different things, and it's like, what can help me with certain things, and now that I'm home and I got more time on my hands and stuff like that. So that's,
social media has proven to be very effective, for our business, which is mainly an online based business, click and order as opposed to brick and mortar. And because of people's accessibility to search engines, like he said, doing their research, it has served us very well.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Nice. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Come on.
Yes. Okay. I'm a Genesis, Iman Samadi, and I am a high vibrational coach.
Oh, wow.
High vibrational coach. My business is called Bliss Life. So I assist people in understanding the power moves within their own life to put them on a path to have a blissful life. I'm also a Tantra teacher. So divine, sacred sex,
Okay.
and a midwife. So I assist in natural childbirth.
You might need that.
Yeah.
Right.
My
So
wife's pregnant.
that's the before and the after.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I take you all the way through. I take you from before, when you're just a couple, and counsel you through compatibility,
Right.
to, helping heal whatever inconsistencies or incompatibilities that you may have, to work over them, to remain either a couple or to understand you don't need to necessarily be together, to assisting you to get pregnant, to go through the process, help deliver, right? And then once you have got your family together, assist in building your legacy and your empire by high vibrational energy. Yeah.
That might be a whole
That's
nother
awesome.
podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole
that's-
other podcast.
Oh,
That's awesome.
That was deep.
That is deep.
Do you
Yeah.
feel people's energies as well?
Yes, I'm an empath.
What do you think about his?
Yeah, he's good. He's good. But you can be passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to, speak your truth in the moment. Don't hold it.
Tell you
Very well.
what, I
I'll
tell
take
you
that.
all the time.
Yeah.
What about me?
Yeah.
What about me?
You're very humble, but you're very passionate about things that you believe in, and you get really excited. So you have
Yeah,
to.
he does.
You have to pace yourself.
Overly
My-
excited sometimes.
When my wife comes home, I'll introduce you. You'll
Yeah.
see how we always joke around that I'm the type of person that I float.
Yeah.
Like I always get excited, but she's that person that she's like, nah, it's like, come back.
Yeah. She grounds you.
And she's my ground.
She's your anchor,
Yeah, she
because
is
you stay in the
definitely
flow
my anchor.
state. You
I would say
stay.
so.
Yeah.
I'm an artist, so
Yeah.
it's like I can't, and I'm a Sagittarius, and
Oh.
I joked around with them.
Yeah. So you have the fire.
Guys, this is
going.
amazing.
You have an
And her
unending
birthday's
fire.
August 1st,
Okay.
She's a
you
Leo.
know? So she's got.
She's an evolved Leo, though.
Yes, she's hardcore. And she's
Yeah.
a rock.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That 1 degree Leo.
Yeah.
Say it again.
That 1 degree Leo.
Yeah.
Because Leo is the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she's on the first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
She's on top of me,
She's powerful, though.
No,
She's powerful.
She's very powerful. She's definitely. You'll see it. I mean, anytime when somebody meets her, they always feel that energy, or when they see us together, they can see that almost like yin and yang type aspect, which is
Dope.
exciting.
Dope.
Man, yeah, that's definitely.
Feels good to love the one you're loved with.
Yes.
Sometimes we don't like the person that we're with. So it's good to honor, respect them, and love the person that you're with.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you had to shortly, recommend things before the next time we get you on for a full-blown podcast, what advice kind of would you give, couples or people out there now?
During this
During what's going on
Yeah.
with COVID.
During being together now in quarantine,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
that even though you're in quarantine together, take time to separate, even within the same space, and do the work on yourself. Like individually deal with your shit, so to speak.
Right.
And, confront and address, and then come together and have a real, true, and honest, transparent conversation about those things. And, because where I'm weak, you could be strong, and vice versa. And we have to learn to work with that. But it's also okay to come to a place of understanding. We may not be the best people for one another to get us to the next level and where we need to be. So, it's time to reassess your contract. You know what I mean? Renegotiate
Right.
the terms and see where you are, and see if it's an ending, if it's a beginning, or if, we need to reassess, repurpose.
Beautiful.
That's amazing.
Love that.
My curiosity is, I always wanted to know, your opinion, because I've talked to KT a lot about
Right.
the coronavirus, some of that, and we always talk about different things that are going on in society,
Right.
and I definitely want to hear from you what your opinion is of what's going on, whether it's how it's made, how it's affecting people, whether it's real, anything that you kind of
From
your
your
insight,
perspective.
from your perspective. You can let it all out. It's all right.
I think the best assessment, that I heard about it, that I concur with, is that is there's an aspect of it that's man-made, and there's an aspect of it that's spiritual. There's a lot of hands in the pot, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So man plans, but they say Allah plans the best. And that's just to say that, no matter what sort of nefarious plans that man might be plotting and planning, Creator's always going to find a way to also ride the wave to get things done in an expeditious manner to say, well, I was already on track, to get rid of some of you.
Right. It was long overdue.
Right.
It's like,
But-
you want it now? We can wrap.
I mean, change.
Right.
We're looking at monumental change, and the more that I learn about the cosmos and the movement of planetary motions, you know what I'm saying, the more that I could say, oh, this is exactly what we see in the stars, as above, so below. It might be taking place here on planet Earth a little bit more dramatic than we're used to, but there's a lot of drama in the skies in regards to how these particular planets are lining up and coming to 5,000 year cycle conclusions and endings, you know what I'm saying? So that we have to see ending, and ending is going to be very abrupt. It's going to be unlike anything that we're used to, because we've never been to the end in this lifetime. We've read about it.
Right.
We've had the pleasure to debate whether it's real or not.
Right.
Right now, you're about to find out.
Right.
You ever been on a roller coaster when the shit go down?
You go up
all
this
that
way.
you could theorize all you
castle.
want about what it's gonna be like. Prepare yourself mentally.
Yep.
Like Mike Tyson said, right? Everybody got a plan till they get punched in the face.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
You feel me? So that's where we're at. And there's a lot of particulars that goes into, I don't want to be Inspector Gadget on this one necessarily. You know what I mean? Because there's so much stuff on the table that you could look at and investigate. They left a paper trail. Now, I don't know whether they left it on purpose. Is that part of it? Right? Because I could play pet detective and sit back and start piecing things together. And I'm like, damn, this was sloppy.
Right.
And the people still won't listen. You feel me? So I'm like, should I waste time breaking it down and decoding it? Or should I attempt to get in front of it and, attempt to save as many people from themselves as I can? Because once again, this goes back to the self. This goes back to, are you disciplined or not? Because the people who are not disciplined are going to get caught up in the whirlwind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to get swept up. If you are disciplined, this is your opportunity to become even greater.
Right.
This is your opportunity for solitude, solace, and then ultimately, if you choose to come out and help other people, you know what I'm saying, what it is that you've learned, you can do that. You know what I mean? For some people, you can get low and exercise the option of living on an island by yourself and doing all of the things that you always wanted to do. Because you like, shit, it's chaotic. Now's the time. Let me get rid of my mortgage. Let me get rid of this job. Let me take a parachute package and go find me an island and, do the things. Yeah, go back to Puerto Rico and build that up. You know what I'm saying? And find me a cave or mountaintop and become a swami or, I mean, it's just get out of the chaos. But if you choose to be in it, then you're also going to have to fortify yourself, because you're going to have to become superhuman in order to fight the fight that you're looking to sign up to fight. You know what I'm saying? Because you're fighting an invisible enemy. You're fighting propaganda. You're fighting people's fears. You're fighting conditions that you can't necessarily predict. I mean, we are in the middle of what they call, this is a live act. What do they call it? What's the military term for it?
A live trial.
Yeah.
A live drill. It's like a live drill.
No, it's a live drill.
Yeah.
In the midst of Operation Warp Speed. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that are going on top of so many other things, and then there's things behind the scene that you can't necessarily see or predict, because regimes are falling out with one another. Secret societies are being unmasked and exposed. Pedophile rings are, you know what I'm saying? These people are not just going to volunteer themselves. They're going to go down fighting, kicking and screaming. So you want to get hit with all of that debris?
That's a lot.
That's a lot for, and
So the illusion.
It's
and then the
Wizard of
media
Oz.
is like doesn't help because they intensify that
Right.
shit
Even more
times 100.
So right.
too much.
What's Project Warp Speed before you continue?
Oh, Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed was something that Trump announced, that he said that he was going to enlist the military to, when they do come up with a vaccine, to distribute that vaccine in warp speed fashion. So they've ordered up 330 million. And it doesn't really, I don't like beating up on Trump because it don't even make sense, you know. But he did a press conference the other day, and he said, I don't know how many people is in the country. He said it could be, you know, because of the undocumented people. So he's like, what are we saying? Like 330 million.
Oh yeah,
you know,
messed up the number.
Yeah, then he jumped to like 30 extra million. He's like, or 360 or 3. Like, it was just an astronomical number. And I'm like, you think it's 25 million undocumented people in this country? I'm just like, come on now. This shit is crazy. But this is the penalty for craziness.
Yeah.
You feel me? And I always said that, you know, Trump always represented the personification of American dumbness.
Yes.
You know, personified in one golem, in one person. So he's the president that America deserves.
Right.
This shit is like
Man, that's true.
Real MTV. What was the one with Paulie D and them?
Oh, Jersey Shore.
Yeah, this shit is like, this is the conglomeration of
Right.
when you get up in the morning and you eating a straight diet of Flavor of Love and
And what was
Jersey
the
Shore.
They were killing the ducks.
Yeah, like
Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty.
and Duck Dynasty. Like, this is what this is.
Or the Alaskan. What was the one with the family that lived out in the mountains? But then they got called out because they would like give them stuff too.
Oh
yeah.
You're talking about, it was that one guy.
Yeah.
And he used to go out into the wilderness and all that.
They had a family.
Every reality show
In one.
if every reality show was a person, right? Let's play that game.
Yeah.
Donald Trump,
Right.
right?
I mean,
Because
he was a reality TV
that's
show.
what I'm saying. So
his whole life, I would say.
so what again, what's the penalty for building up, right? And all of the sacrifices that my people made, that your people made, that everybody around the world made to make America what it is, right? To build this thing up
When it comes to this.
for 244 years, right? For the people to be so upset because they had a melanated man at leadership who represented a profound level of intelligence, if you will. We're not going to get into what he did and what he didn't do. What we do know is that he was a Harvard graduate who defied all the odds. You know what I'm saying?
And no scandals.
No scandals, who looked different, not only with his physical look, I mean, just looked different in terms of what he brought to the office of presidency.
Shooter, man.
You feel me? And you're going to go from that level of intelligence and cleanup, right? Because they brought him in after Bush to do the cleanup.
Literally.
Right? To open these closed doors. America was starting to become isolated as a country based on, you know, things that happened during Bush's presidency. And Obama was able to not only open those doors, but open new doors, open galactic doors. You know what I'm saying? Do different things, you know. And then you get Trump.
Yeah.
Huh?
Access to Cuba.
Which closed
And
really
shut it
quickly
right back
too.
down.
Right, that's true.
Access to Cuba. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like the boomerang effect. You know, then they throw it that much further back, so then there's a price to pay. There's a price to pay. You feel me? I mean, look at the machine that America is. Look at the vehicle. Look at the you know, all of the blood that had to go into, you know, covering up the ugly facade of it to make it pretend to be so shiny.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just for it to rip all of the veneer off and then, oh, this shit is rusty.
This is so bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, so there has to be a price to pay for that. You feel me? And the lack of leadership, the lack of people taking affairs into their own hands to say, oh, if I do love this country so much, I'm not going to allow it to be let off of a cliff, right? There was a level of complacency that people were just wishing on a star, and it's like you don't expect a vehicle to auto drive itself 100-something miles on a highway. It's gonna crash.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at this vehicle crashing because there's no leadership. You know what I'm saying?
What do you feel about Kanye West now?
I have my own theories on that, just based on my level of research and study into the Law of 44, and I know that those two individuals are entangled.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Good
saying?
word.
Yeah.
Word.
That's the new
true.
popular
That's
Good use
word.
of the word. Good use
Yeah,
of the
but
word.
Yeah, that's a
I've
great
been
use
using that word.
of
It's a
entanglement.
great
For-
use of the word.
I even created my own word. It was called intertanglement. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
And it was our entanglement with the stars, with celebrity. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I have experienced that with my own research. The more that I look into Jay-Z and my Law 44 turned into 444,
His album.
that's intertanglement.
Remember the Super Bowl one you did?
All of the Super Bowl intertanglement, Kanye West, his entire discography from the life of Pablo all the way up into him moving to Wyoming, which is the 44th state. I mean, how do you randomly do these things? It's intertanglement. It's like when Farrakhan spoke about it on the Criterion, which was his last address that he did on July the 4th. He said, there's water and wine, right? And water is just like maybe what you might go to church and the priest or the reverend or the pastor, he's reciting the word. You know what I'm saying? But wine is interpretation of the word. It's when you take the word and just go from interpreting it or just speaking about it to really, saying, well, today, this is what it is, right? You're pastoring, right? You're saying, what the?
Nature, man. We get a lot. I think there's a
Okay.
cockroach, maybe. We get a lot of nature out here.
I just seen like his
Yeah, it's massive
clothes,
giant.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
Look like he picked up something.
Right.
Yeah. That's like a rival,
Yeah.
right? Like the alien on Arrival.
That was an MMA fighter. Right there.
So, yeah, turning water to wine. When you turn it to wine, you're going through interpretation of it. You're really decoding and breaking it down and getting underneath it and into it. And I've seen, in my own work, when I do this with these artists, I become entangled with them. There's a level of intertanglement where you're almost like the Geppetto. You know what I'm saying? You pulling strings. And because they're not in your notebook, they're not in your phone, they're not in your room, and they're not in your head. So what's the other explanation? If I say something today and they do it tomorrow, it's like, nah, we have an entanglement. We have an intertanglement. So yeah, they Geminis, but they're entangled totally. Trump and Kanye West is entangled. You feel me? And when Kanye saw that his polling numbers were hurting Trump instead of Biden, what did he do? He removed himself. Mm-hmm. Right? Because I think that, of course, he felt that he was going to help Trump by taking the black vote away from Biden. But that's not how his 2% polling showed that he was taking points away from Trump. Mm-hmm. So he must have got the call from Kushner,
Hey, calm it down.
Yeah.
Abort mission.
Right.
Yeah, abort mission.
Do you think entanglement happens with anyone you meet? Not just necessarily, who you are working with? Sometimes, you might meet somebody in the street and you just have a conversation.
Absolutely. I think that anybody that you come into contact with, and because of social media, that doesn't have to be physical at this point. Observation, when we look at quantum physics, which is a wonderful topic to talk about now because 2020 is all about the quantum,
We got plenty of time.
I'm just saying this year, thank you, Jada, for even making an entanglement a conversational piece, because she shifted it to where it needs to be.
You wonder if that was done on purpose. That's my biggest thing lately.
I think,
I mean, cosmically,
yeah.
the cosmos moves the way it needs to move. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak on that. You said?
I'm just saying the cosmos, like we talked about in the stars and astrology, the planets, things are happening regardless of where our attention is.
So
right?
can you just give us a brief interpretation of what exactly is Virgo? What are the strengths of Virgo, and how can these two Virgos and this Libra who's in the middle balancing out
Right.
these two Virgos entangling themselves over that?
Well, being that I'm a Virgo.
My mom's a Virgo.
Yeah, being that I'm a Virgo myself, what I saw was in any individual, right? You're dealing either with your higher self or you're dealing in ego. And you have a choice, light and dark, in which you're choosing, or how you use your ego. Sometimes you need your ego to highlight yourself to a certain position. And in this instance, the Virgo, right, the Virgin Mother, Mother Mary, is representing the mother, the mothering, the healer. And she was not in her higher self in the moment of healing this individual. She was in her ego, and she was in her selfish self, wanting to pacify self, and
Not wanting to heal self from the hurt from the Libra, right? She wanted to get Will back.
Mm-hmm.
That's ego.
That's ego.
Yeah.
True. That's ego.
That's not her higher calling.
In doing
right.
so, inflicted pain upon another individual who was already in pain, and removed yourself from the position of healer, truly, and it backfired. You know what I mean? And she was in her shadow self. And she looked down a lot in the interview. She giggled a lot in the interview. Right. She shifted the energy to you and I to put it back on her and Will, to take away from the entanglement, to take away from the transgression. She even said, I don't call it a transgression.
Right.
But it was. You know what I mean? And so the conversation really was about ownership of your actions, right? Being disciplined and understanding what your role is in any situation. So as a Virgo, we're natural healers. We naturally move in to assist, even when you don't want us to. Sometimes we overstep, right? We overstep in that. I'm truly the mother. I mother everything and everyone, right? I feel like I have the solution. I'm a solutionist. And so if you have a problem, I'm coming to you with a solution. But when I step into the role of, because we're very intelligent, right, and we're aware and we're discerning, I can manipulate the situation too. I have the power to manipulate a situation unbeknownst to you. And I think that that's a little bit of what occurred in this situation. And so it made everyone kind of look at themselves to say, are you truly, you know what I mean, assisting, or are you being manipulative in situations? Are you pulling the strings, behind the curtain? And then for Will, he may have caused hurt for her. Right. And so, then she inflicted hurt and it kind of backfired. But it also showed us a different aspect of male, of masculinity.
Yeah, definitely.
The vulnerability, but also the compassion that can be led, and, taking away the double standard of you can't do as I do, and vice versa. Compassion and forgiveness, and him taking the higher road to say, I'm really going to save you on this one. I'm going to save you in this situation, is what he's really doing. Right. But he's also smart, because the worldly aspect is, if he ever got a divorce, he just nailed you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
He just nailed you.
Played chess,
because he made you admit. He called you on the floor of what you did.
Mean game of chess.
Yeah, that is true.
He played chess.
Remember, he was the first one at fault.
Call it what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't call it entanglement.
He was the one at fault initially, but we're not hearing. We're not here for his faults.
They were talking about with her and with him and what's her name, Margot Robbie.
With him and him.
Yeah.
With him and the this is not the
DM.
end.
Yeah. I was gonna say DM.
Yeah, he has a plethora.
Right. But again, if you're playing chess, you're smart because you play a mental game. He may have had NDAs. He may have had conversations. He may have had payouts. He played his game properly. You know what I mean? And so.
And in the eyes of the public, everyone knows him, not really her.
He's the victim,
he's
right?
Like,
exactly.
The Black Messiah almost.
Well, but on the flip side, right, speaking of males and that masculine figure, would we put Nick Cannon and Will
was gonna
Smith
talk
in the
about
same
that.
category of masculinity? And both of those two have been highlighted because both of them are
Yeah.
very successful, but we look
Right.
at both of them as very corny.
Yeah. But behind the scenes, they've done a lot. Especially
They've
Nick
done a
Cannon.
lot, but the overwhelming view of them
Right.
is
They are.
not
They're
the one
not.
that you
They're
would
not.
champion
They're
to
not
be the
nigger
strong,
kings,
True.
right? They're not. They're not.
Cornballs.
They're not part of the nigger kingdom,
Yeah.
the
Right.
gods. They are not.
and it don't matter what you do, right? If you don't fit the prototype of being the alpha in
That's
nigger
right.
kingdom,
That's
you can't
right.
speak for the quote unquote
For
niggas.
the masses.
And unfortunately, I mean, as a society, that's where we're at.
Right.
Where those are the alpha epsilons, if you will. If we know anything about what an epsilon male is, you know what I'm saying? It's the lowest on the pecking order, you know what I mean? But the alpha of that, you know what I'm saying? Tupac was the king of nigger kingdom, if you will, right? He could speak for them. He spoke for them, you know. And that particular seat has been one that people have been looking to occupy because, you know, if you speak from that space, people are bound to listen, and you can lead, you know, the niggers to the nigger promised land.
To a false,
To entangle world.
You know,
Speaking about Nick Cannon, though, how do y'all feel about the whole situation? Because I know, like what he said, he was speaking knowledge. I mean, he was speaking facts on the podcast, but a lot of people don't.
I mean,
they don't comprehend that. They're I don't know.
those are not universally accepted facts,
Yes.
right? All truths are not truths.
Right.
To all people, you know what I'm saying? You know, I could sit here and say, you know, Dr. Sebi said that we have electrical bodies, so we should adhere to electrical diets, and electrical foods are, you know, what it is that we should be doing, and we should be looking to bring our bodies into alkaline state. And Dr. Fauci could come on TV and say, that's BS. And guess who's going to take precedent, you know what I'm saying, of that conversation? They're going to look at him as being credentialed. They're going to look at his years.
Right.
They're going to look at the fact that he's still alive and Sabi's not, right? Because that's who wins. Nigga, are you still alive? Right? That's what the real race is. He who can sustain life long enough is normally the one who's the victor, whether you standing on truth or falsehoods. So there's a lot of weird things that go into, you know, because people think truth is so absolute in this reality. And I'm like, not really. Like, you can manipulate light.
It's subjective.
And it's subjective. You can manipulate light in this reality, so you can manipulate truth as well.
Yeah, you can bend light, you can bend truth.
You could bend light, you could bend truth. People think that the sky's blue. I can't convince them otherwise. The sky's not blue. Neither is the water. No, it's black.
That's true.
Oh damn.
That's true. It's all
Right?
reflection.
I don't know
Right.
what, according to the more, is it pale? I meant to ask them that the other night. I said, what do you call the sky? According to the Lord, the sky pale? Is it Moorish?
No, I mean, Maurice.
Nah,
Maurice.
Moreno? It's
Moreno.
Moreno?
I think it's hard for people to take him
Serious.
seriously now.
He put a dress on, didn't he?
Yes.
And in one of his movies, yeah, and he did. I mean, he's done, you know, from his different albums, and people.
We talking about Nick or we talking about Will?
Both of them have.
Both of them. Man, when
'Cause
did,
they-
and
Both of
Will
them
did
have.
play.
They almost like the same-
One of his first
This is
movies,
what
he
I'm
played
saying.
a gay
It's the same
character.
prototype.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
what my point was. It's the
Okay.
same prototype
You're
of
right.
a man.
Yeah. They always,
And they both Libras, ain't they?
Will is definitely a Libra.
Yeah.
The Cannon's a Libra too.
They always, because they
I think he's like October 8th or 6th.
Libra
something
men
like that.
struggle with that feminine energy that they
balance.
carry within
Right.
them and they're never, in the same way Libras are unsure about decisions, Libra men are unsure about themselves. They are always measuring themselves against other men, and when they are in a cipher of men, they are questioning themselves the whole time that they're in that cipher. They may stand tall, but they're questioning who they are in aspect to the other man in that
like
cipher.
insecurity almost
Yes.
as well?
Yeah. Sometimes it's an unbeknownst one, but I was watching an episode of Wild 'N Out yesterday, right? And one of the brothers said to him, he said, "How do you have so much money and you still don't have a woman?"
It's true. They've
And
roasted
Nick
a
was
couple
like,
times.
"You're right, because they don't respect you. It doesn't matter your stature, how much money you have, the position that you play. A real woman will look for security, and if she can be led by you, if she can feel safe, right? If you can teach, and we saw you fumble with your articulation, so you're not in a position to be able to teach and feel secure, even though you have the financial standing.
True.
Not how much money you have, right?
Yeah.
But your ability to lead."
It's true.
My perspective.
No, I 100% agree with that because, you know, you look at it, it's like, you know, more money, more problems. You know, like what is money? But it's like great money's great in some aspects, but you
Money's
can
freedom.
have
Sometimes.
a beautiful
Right,
life.
because freedom is not free.
Yeah.
I mean-
you can have a beautiful life without necessarily having, you know, a lot of money.
I think
Yeah,
sometimes
it's-
like
it's-
perspective.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
subjective.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking at, you know, somebody like a Nick Cannon make a mid-stride pivot in his career, you know, and majority of people know him from Disney and Wilding Out. They don't know the conscious version,
Context of him.
you know, context of him, and he's sitting up there with a turban. You feel me?
And making fun of him, not even realize how powerful that actually is.
It was never been properly articulated, and it's like, what is he standing on? You're not a
Right.
Moor,
Right.
you know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
It was a student.
is-
We were
yeah.
watching him be a student.
we was watching him be a student, be studious. It was cute while it lasted, but it came to an end.
Right.
Why? Because he is entangled, right, with corporate America, and you can't.
Apologies to him.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't do one, and you know what I'm saying. You can't stand on
You have
truth
to play your
and then
part until you buy out your
yeah,
contract.
be contracted with the devil.
Yeah.
Like he
Right.
literally is I mean,
Hence the struggle.
I'm elated that we are able to witness all of these lessons and these parables personify themselves.
What a blessing.
What a blessing,
Yeah.
right? Because now I can teach visually. I don't
Right.
even have
We
to
can-
go into books no more. I can
Exactly.
be like, this is
Hello.
what the deal with the devil looked like.
Right.
You understand?
The world
He
is
didn't
the
even know that he
classroom.
ain't own his own stuff.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah, it's true.
And that's why I feel like, you know, he went and said, no,
Double
you
back.
guys owe me an apology.
Double back.
But then the next day he was like, I'm sorry. And, and
Bro.
people were like,
Wait a minute.
He found
He
out
read
real
that
quick.
contract.
yeah, he was like,
Read that contract.
Let me not say that.
Because who own, like you look at the top, what is it, top 4 companies, and Viacom is
Viacom
massive,
is-
you know.
Bro.
But also, I
As
think
opposed
that it's
to-
an example of two things existing at one time, right? Because we can't take away the fact that he was being a student to life. He was trying to obtain knowledge of self.
Yes.
He was shifting, right? He was shifting his own personal paradigm. So we have to give kudos and respect for
Yeah,
that,
definitely.
right? But in the process of that, I think, I guess for me, this is where like the YouTube gurus and, you know, those of us who have been studying, I've had knowledge of self, you know, for over 20 years. So I've been a student and I've lived it and activated it versus, you know, I may have come in contact with it, got it 6 months, 2 minutes and ran with it. You got to sit with knowledge sometimes and allow it to marinate and it become you before you stand in a position of transparency to speak. And I think that that is where Jada got caught, because you put yourself in a position of transparency to speak and to heal and speak into other people's lives, but the double shadow of, but you haven't completely dealt with self. And so I commend Nick for where he was shifting to, but you weren't quite ready to take that leap to speak in that space about something so massive,
Right.
Massive,
right?
yeah.
Huge.
That holds a lot of weight and responsibility.
Right.
Leave that to
It-
the Criterion
Yeah.
message.
Yeah.
Leave that and let that be.
Right.
And he was physically present at Criterion, right, on July the 4th. So he had a target on his back.
Yeah, that was enough. You had already done enough.
Yeah,
Hold what you got.
You've done enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
he got the Sabi documentary slated to come out. That's gonna put him in a whole nother, you know, target demographic.
Right, yeah. And
because
I told him about
that coincides with phase 2 or phase 3 of the rollout. So now they got to contend with a million woke niggas now trying to tell them, oh, this cure this and this cure that, because now they got the context visually of the story being played out
and the products
right? Everybody's gonna be looking for the product. Yeah. So they like,
it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, he's a big piece on the board.
It had to be taken off.
They took himself off.
Yeah.
Right? Took himself off. That, you know, again, one of the main things. Yeah, one. That's what I'm about to say. One of the main thing about consciousness is timing. Right? One of the main things about this cosmological 2020 is timing. Timing is everything. Right. A day can literally make all the difference. Yeah. You feel me? So everything takes place cosmologically in this year according to the signs, particularly. You feel me? It was the wrong time. He put that full YouTube up of him and Professor Griff. Right? That he did that. It was the wrong time. Because like I said, the pivotal piece that he plays and personifies with the documentary supposed to come out August 6th on the anniversary of Sabi's transition. Now what happens?
You got put back.
You feel me? Now you're jeopardizing millions of people's lives who have a last-ditch effort to get their immunity intact before the fall comes, before winter comes. When
before they come with these,
literally before the fall. Right?
That is
because you played your hand too quick and allowed these people to snipe you, right, and take you off the board. You meant so much more, and you'll never know if you can't, because it's not going to have the same impact, because now the house is divided, right, with everybody either on one or two sides, calling him a coon, or saying, fuck them hoteps. You know what I'm saying? You did the right thing. And it's like, can his integrity ever be intact? Can he ever be looked at as serious?
It is.
You know what I'm saying? What is his interviews gonna look like? Can he ever get past that to talk about the documentary? Are they just gonna put all of that in the closet to say, oh, this is when you was researching stuff that you didn't want to stand on no longer, so maybe this was along with it. When you was reading Dr. Cress Wilson and all of the other stuff that you didn't want to defend in your capitulation speech, right? Because you said that you was reading propaganda. So is this propaganda too? Like it just, and we see that he's not qualified to speak on certain things. Don't mean that he's not a good person. Don't mean that
he may have been ready to be a leader later, but again, we're talking about divine timing. So in this
timing,
to shut the whole conversation down, he wasn't qualified. He wasn't qualified in this time to have that conversation.
Exactly. It comes back to what you were saying, the idea of the microcosm, macrocosm, where he had the knowledge, but he didn't sit on it.
It hadn't fermented.
Yeah, you gotta let
it hasn't become you.
The water hadn't became wine.
You're not fully baked yet. Because you still have those entanglements.
Yeah.
You still contractually, obligated. You're in the same house of the people that you throwing rocks at.
And he was aware of that subconsciously because that's why you were tiptoeing around your words and you didn't have the words.
I realized that. He's like,
you were subconsciously aware of that, but you were already in. You had already jumped in the water without the life jacket. You know what I'm saying?
And you got a marksman. He brought a marksman on the show,
and he was being a shooter.
And he be the shooter.
Right?
Like, you let Griff, that's what, Richard Griffin, you let him do that.
That's and somebody going up stabbing somebody, but you got a sniper on the roof.
Right. It's like, come on. Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's aggrandizement.
Yeah.
That's all
you indicted
ego.
Yourself. You showed your hand.
Yeah, so right before Leo, right before the ego season comes, you fall on your face. Right?
And took some of us with you.
Yeah. And took some of us with you.
Because there's a war that's being fought at the moment, and we need all our allies.
Right?
We need all of our allies.
For sure.
And, I'm not gonna keep going in, on our brother.
Digress.
I just,
it becomes frustrating.
Timing.
Frustration.
Timing.
There's a lot of everything going on. It's like, You know, I was looking forward to it, like the
Everyone
Dr.
we
Safety
knew
documentary and everything.
We're telling
Let's hold out
everyone
hope.
about it.
And it's like,
So where's it gonna be?
Yeah.
Right?
In a Jewish theater,
Yeah.
on a Jewish network.
Right.
Look at the hypocrisy in that.
yeah,
The Jewish Hollywood, they're gonna put that out
That's
now.
true.
Like, you have to maintain your
Tyler Perry
relationships.
Studios,
You feel me?
negative.
Yeah, like you gotta learn how to move like a spook if you want to be spooky. You know what I'm saying? Now
Moving
you
on
looking
spooky
scary.
time.
Yeah, and there's a difference between being scary and being spooky. You feel me? I wish our brother the best though, because I can't imagine what he's going through.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he does have a family, and we ought to be mindful of that.
And just the energy planetarily that's out there right now. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
a lot of people are
It's a
slipping.
lot of people
Yeah.
exiting.
A lot of people are exiting and slipping because they can't take the pressure.
Yeah. And we
I
don't
can only
want that.
imagine what being attacked from both sides, inside and outside, feels like. So you catching it from the Jewish media, ADL, those are his squads. You catching it from the woke community. You catching it from the conscious community. You catching it from your colleagues. You catching it from your fan base. You know, Lord knows how many people were part of Wildin' Out that don't have jobs anymore.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah, that's
about.
another
That's
thing.
what
You know
I
what
was
I'm saying?
thinking
Because the
about.
whole new season was about to start, what was
Yep.
it, Wednesday? And they shut it down. They
Yep.
said no.
Right? So you catching it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes a lot to hold on to in the midst of people canceling you and flushing your whole career down the drain. And
That's
you know,
crazy.
they said that he was acting since the age of 9.
Mhm.
And he still has a ailment. He still got lupus. He still has
right.
Yeah.
you know,
A
a medical,
compromised
a
immune
compromised
system.
immune
Right.
system. So we don't know how this is really affecting him at a core level.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
Well, we call
Under-
a covering over him of protection in this moment, that he will gracefully move through this shift and come out on the other side intact.
right.
Ashe.
And, you know, to go back to a question that you asked me earlier, because I didn't really go in depth, you know, but when you asked me about coronavirus, you know, at the beginning of this year, I started talking about it started out as a theory, and now it's a theorem, but I started speaking about something called a corona rising, right? And I was bringing to the attention of, you know, the people who were listening to my audience that this year was going to be a very intense energy, a solar activated energy, and I was telling them that this was going to take place inside of you, you know, from your solar plexus going all the way up into your crown, which is, this is one sun, and this is your sun, this is your corona, this is your crown. And I'm like, look, this deals with the whole mythological coming out of 400 years of bondage, you know, just like in the Bible, the same story that the slaves went through in the Bible, same story that they went through in Egypt. This is the new Egypt, you know what I'm saying, of coming out of her and coming out of bondage. Your first year is Jubilee, hence the fact that this year you see more melanated people celebrating Juneteenth and just discovering it like they just got
Like
free,
it just happened.
like it just happened,
That's crazy.
than ever before. You seen the verses, you seen Diddy dance, you seen them.
Heard about Tulsa.
Yeah, all of this partying is taking place. I don't condemn it because, to me, like I said, I'm looking at a broader narrative take place, even if it's a mythological one. You know, shit. I mean, if I ask you what today's date or what is today? What's today?
The 17th.
No, is it? What's the day of the week?
Today is Friday.
That's part of a mythos, right?
Right.
Just like yesterday was Thursday and that's Thursday. There's nothing that we never are not
Substantiated.
substantiating mythos. That's all we do.
We're living it.
We
Daily.
live mythos every single day.
Yeah.
And if I say, okay, what's today's date?
July 17th,
What else?
2020.
Then we are part of the Jesus Christ of narrative,
Right.
right? Whether
AD.
you are a Christian and adhere to it or not, by our acknowledgement that this is our calendar and this is how we measure time, right? Because as sentient beings that came here to earth, that's all we can do
Right.
is measure time,
Right.
right? We're utilizing that tool to measure
We're
time.
entangled in the program.
We are
We're
entangled.
part of the program.
The Matrix.
You're not outside of it until you can tell me what today's Mayan
What today
calendar.
is not.
Yeah, what today is not.
Right.
In their time, then you are entangled in that
Right.
program. Let's get over it. Let's move through it. Let's find our place in it and claim the power.
Or find the magic in it and use it too.
Right, because there's some power in it.
Right.
Because if it wasn't, how the hell is it
How are they
holding
making
down
moves?
these little gods to keep running around reminding me about who they are? Right? And my shit is like, show me who you are. Stop telling me. So this conversation that he ignited and initiated, there's a next level to it. Right? That deals with putting on some gloves and getting in the ring and not fighting them for the title, but beating up the people that's sleepy enough that are not telling the same people, you can't claim it by name alone. You got to do the work. Right? That shit involves rituals. It involves adherence to particular principles and commandments. It involves the dietary discipline. Right? It involves a lot of shit that the majority of so-called black people are not doing, and they're not even trying to get next to it or near it. You feel me? Those people are. They dedicated to it. I used to live around them. They don't miss ritual. They don't miss Sabbath.
Not a moment.
They dress in all black in 90, 100, whatever degree weather, right? In adherence to Saturnian principles, right? To Saturn. They're giving it up, right? Set is their god. And Set was our God at one point. But now we spooky, right? Because they told us that that's the devil. We don't want to go nowhere near it. We don't even understand the Bible. We're unqualified Christians, right?
Ooh, my bad.
Yeah.
Can't match you.
It's all good, right? That was the Ashe. It was like, yeah, nigga. It's like, talk that talk, right?
Talk love to me.
Because this is our year that we are headed to what's known as our coronation. This is when the king becomes the king again. You know, and it takes place in Leo. It takes place in the month of the king, or the season of the king. You know, August 20th will be our full 1 year period since we have experienced this 400 year, you know, this 1 year release out of 400 years of bondage. What aligns us with biblical time? This country was built for a group of people to align themselves with a predestined time, right? This country has not been created happenstancely.
Due to an energy grid,
right?
that it's
Set on the energy grid, aligned with Cosmic Mother, with Sirius, the constellation of Sirius. This was not by accident.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is not. They're not rolling the dice. They didn't freestyle their way here. It was again measurement of time. This was dealing with precise mathematics, right? People who I have to admonish and give respect to say, God damn it, they measured time. Look what they came up with. This is the 244th year. It's going down, right? Under this particular, under these stars, under these cosmos, under these alignments. December 21st, 2020, this country will play host, or the planet will play host to an alignment of Jupiter and Saturn that is, you know, this is one of the grandest great conjunctions that we'll ever bear witness to in our lives. And this is going to overlap all of these dimensions that we are experiencing in 2020. So 2020 is 2012, it's 2010, it's 2015, it's 1968, it's 1490. It's all of these things that we are experiencing. They say that all
times exist at one time.
Yeah,
right.
This is that time when all times will exist. We're gonna have access to these physical dimensions, not just in theory.
Right.
You're gonna see some shit this year that's gonna defy everything that we've ever been told.
Right.
And so by the time 2021 comes around, you know,
who's gonna be left?
It's like putting your sneakers in. You ever put your sneakers in the wash machine?
Yeah.
And if shit's come out and the tongue be hanging out to the side and to be all, who's gonna survive the rinse cycle of what this thing is about to go through?
You know what?
Right?
If I could
total
interject.
transformation.
Right. So Sweden, I believe Sweden, right? How they handle coronavirus. My niece is getting ready to go do a residency in Sweden, right? They never had a lockdown. They never shut down. They never quarantined. Their perspective was, let the weakest die out.
Facts.
let the weakest die out, because you're not going to make it anyway. We're not going to have to deal with that, and we'll continue on. Honestly, the U.S. is handling it the same way. They're just not saying it to that respect.
To that respect.
Because the weakest links are being pushed out.
Right.
If you were already struggling, if you were already not tending to your immune system, if you were already financially crippled, right? If you already had to worry about if your children can go to school or if you have to go to work and make that decision. Or on the other end, if you are retiring, receiving pensions, depending on 401k, sickly, compromised, they're pushing you out.
They're culling
You're
all
irrelevant.
of that. Yeah.
And
You're gonna die off.
That.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I was like, if you really think about it, it's all the weak people that are getting like flushed out basically, like with the whole virus.
Who they consider irrelevant.
Exactly.
Who they consider non-essential.
Non-essential.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. What they used to call useless eaters.
And then the other phase of that is who we can control by fear and anxiety.
Right.
If you've tapped into the fear frequency,
Right.
then we're zapping you out too.
Yep.
Right. Who's down with the program?
Right.
Right. And we need to know who these leader guys are. Right.
We're calling everybody to the floor.
It's so many.
The light is on everyone.
It's so many checklists
It's being
that they
defined.
It's true.
Your position is being defined right now.
we getting it all done.
Yep.
To be honest,
All
You
in
feel
one,
me?
all in 1 year.
Yeah.
All in 1
Yeah.
year.
and so like in my
crazy.
opinion, and one of the things that I always felt within me is that's the reason why I always told Junior that we can't stop what we're doing. One, we're hella healthy, 'cause we take care of ourselves.
Give
but then
thanks.
at the same time, it's like a lot of other people that have podcasts that we've known or that follow us, like either stopped or they try to do the Zoom meetings or all these things that don't really work because they don't have that
Synergy.
full connection.
Yeah.
You can't feel people's energy. And we're like, no, we have to embrace what's going on and try to bring better content so that awareness happens.
Yeah, that's why we made it. We don't make it like so, like kind of structure based.
Yeah.
It's more like open. Like we talk about
Everything.
Like,
Right.
Because everything's kind of correlates with everything.
Well,
So
let
it's
the
like-
energy guide it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so far
Yeah.
it's been great. I mean, we got guests like you guys coming through, which is like mind blowing, and it's awesome.
Well, to Blue's point, everything going back to the heavens and the stars, because the stars are mapping it out. Energy, and I think I told you earlier, is that stop looking at the ground.
Yeah,
Everybody's looking at the ground. You have to look up. You have to look into the ethers because it's being mapped out. Like it's all right there. If you can read it, if you can tap in, then you'll understand and you can be guided a little bit better and you can be present and you can move with it. You know what I mean? You can be ahead of it and not on default.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Those that are on default and are just grounded and only paying attention to the surface level, you're missing it because they're already 10 years ahead of us. The game's already been played out. It's already been mapped out. You're playing catch up. You're on a perpetual carousel, right? And they're keeping you on that perpetual carousel if you're tuned into just what's happening right here. If you're tuned into CNN,
Right.
yeah,
Any of them.
You got that
It's a
corona
problem.
ticker.
yeah.
Crazy.
So what you put me on, tune into night sky.
You have Saturn and Jupiter
Yeah.
already doing the alignments now.
They're doing the dance.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed because we got that big ass telescope.
Yeah.
And I
You have a telescope?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I'll show you.
yes,
It's
yes,
right in
yes.
the
They
door.
do.
It's
I
huge.
seen it first.
It's so expensive.
Oh,
And when the girls we have one, and then he has two.
Got two.
Right, one coming, and then my wife. My wife. We'll find out tomorrow. My wife's sister has two. So it's all girls.
We have
Right.
a lot of girls.
It's all girls. So they're trying to roll that dice to get that boy. But I'll. If you notice how it's all windows,
Yes.
and Saturn and Jupiter always come right through here. The moon always comes right
Yeah.
through here.
Yeah, they're tracking the moon.
Yep. And I'll always put the telescope there so I know that okay, that nighttime all I gotta do is look through it and I'll see it.
Right.
So I'll show the girls Jupiter, I'll show them
Yeah.
Saturn,
Yeah.
and I'll
So-
show them the full moon.
Yeah.
There's like pieces you could just take off and replace to
Dope.
make it closer.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been tracking that alignment since the 4th when they popped up. You know what I mean? And it's been amazing.
Yes.
And they're gonna be conjoined and leading up. This is leading up to the big shebang bang.
Can you talk
You know what I'm
a little
saying?
bit more about that?
December 21st. Again, like I said, 2020 is 2012. Everything that was prophesized by the Mayans about 2012, December 21st.
So it was late.
Yeah, it was 8 years off. And they just came out with the article. You know what I'm saying? And they said, "Oh, we was off by our calculations."
It was like some
and they said it's supposed to be the weekend of the summer solstice, which was another one of my predictions. The fact that I said that this is the second coming. And what I meant by that is that in a 1 year span, we were going to see 2 solar eclipses, landing on these very key dates. The day after Christmas, the first solar eclipse hit, which was the Ring of Fire solar eclipse. And then on the summer solstice, the solar eclipse hit, which was also a Ring of Fire solar eclipse. Then there's going to be another one on December 14th, 7 days before December 21st. But December 21st is the culmination of a 5,000 year cycle.
It's a yuga.
It's a yuga. It's the ending of a cycle. Is
YUGA?
Yeah, it's what we researched when we was researching 2012 for the Mayans, when they were saying it's the ending of an epoch and the era and the alignment of all alignments. This is going to be December 21st, 2012. It's going to be an event horizon. And like I said, there's going to be a multiplicity of layers of dimensions. A few days after that, according to what people have been punching into their star tracking, they're not able to find the sun for 3 days. So this is even going to fulfill that prophecy of the sun not rising for 3 days. We're going to be in darkness. Yeah. There's so much just taking place. You know what I mean? They saved the best for last. So this year is just preparing us for the rickety-rockety, culmination of these cycles that are just going to challenge everything that we thought we knew. But the focus should be on the corona, which is the sun, throughout the year. And in the summer months, it should be, the emphasis should be on acquiring vitamin D, like KT always speaks about, that light. You know what I'm saying? Activating our latent potentials, really turning into these mutants that we've always read about. You know what I mean? The radiation that's hitting this planet is going to mutate us. You feel me? But it's not to be fearful of. It's to prepare yourself for it. It's to listen to these young geniuses and scientists like KT. They give you so many tools for free, to allow you to marvel and imagine what the possibilities are, right? Especially if you feel like this ain't enough. I've never written myself into a script where I'm not going to be the victor at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't probably always necessarily know how I'm going to get there, but I know on some video game shit that I'm going to power up. I'm going to give me a power pack. Feel me? And I'm going to bust through it, and I'm going to do what needs to be. I'm going to level up.
Yeah, level up.
And why? Yeah, it's like, why even engage and entertain these things? Why see these things if I can't be these things?
Right.
Because that's defying what you tell me I have the ability to do.
Right.
So I'm like, if everything is in chaos, if all bets is off about everything else, shit, then I'm going to throw off the bet that I'm regular. I'm going to throw off the bet that I'm just a mundane human being. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to be whatever the graduation is of that next thing. Or I'm going to set the template or the ideology for these children to do that thing. Because they have the ability to quantum leap.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to entangle myself with greatness.
Yeah.
A lot of them do. You
feel
see
me?
a lot of those kids just have a different mental mindset.
Yeah.
And so it's like for people like myself that have been on point and on top of things for so long, but then you challenged by, the regular everyday reality that says, oh, you just regular just like the rest of us.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And then some of us buy into that shit, and we pay the price.
Pay the price.
And it's like, when you gonna shake it off and be like, nah, I'm not. I'm different. You know what I'm saying?
The world is in
I'm
chaos,
unique,
but I'm in bliss.
And that's not no disrespect to where y'all is at.
Yeah.
you feel me? I came here to quantum leap. I came here
I'm
to
on a
get to the
different
next
type of time.
a different type of time. I'm here for the next phase of things.
I'm
you know
ready.
what I'm saying?
And I wasn't ready in 2012, honestly.
A
I
lot
don't think
of
I
us
was
wasn't
ready.
ready.
Even though I was bracing, I don't think I was ready.
So,
now I'm excited.
Yeah, think about.
I knew nothing was
They
gonna
say
happen.
the sunlight.
It's not it.
They say sunlight takes 8 minutes to reach here, and then they say the light from the galactic center takes 4.4 years to reach here. So 2012, the light from 2012 didn't even hit the planet until about 2016.
Makes sense.
You know, and now 4 years later,
Oh, I just
here
got
we
chills.
are. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
And for us to have the ability to make observations of, you know, old light, you know, because we're looking at stars.
We're
Those
looking at
are
old
millions.
light,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's millions. That's light.
We're looking
from
at the
stars that have
past.
died.
Oh,
We're looking
wow.
at the past.
Yeah.
Think about what you just sent. He actually just sent us the Instagram about the. Remember? And you were saying how they just took new photos.
Yeah, the
sun.
closest. They took the closest photos
Closest photos.
of the sun that they have ever had.
Right.
The second time, because they said that they did that earlier this year when they showed that the sun looks like gold nuggets,
Yep.
right? At a close up. But now they're saying that the sun has what's called campfires,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They now I had to research this shit to be like, well, how did I get next to the sun
Right.
so quick?
Right, right.
Because you just said that you launched this orbiter
That's what I was
from Europe the other day, but then y'all telling me how many years it took you to get to Mars. So how did this shit get to the sun so quick
That's what I was telling
that you was
my-
able to take all of these pictures and y'all telling me that y'all gonna have a clear flyby and not too long and the shit ain't burned up? What are you using?
Right.
That's literally what I
What was that from Wakanda?
And not only that,
What was the-
during summertime, the sun is the furthest from Earth, not the closest.
Right, right.
Right? It's the
Right.
furthest from Earth.
Break
But
down the true science.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I've been studying the sun all year,
Yeah.
right? Corona Rising, I'm telling you, they have more information come out this year about the sun than ever.
I mean,
All of the breakthroughs took place this year.
yeah.
The quickening.
The quickening. And we focused on what?
The ground.
So let me put this part on record, right? Because I love talking my shit. So,
I don't mind.
You're in your zone. Go ahead.
but this is not ego. And if it is, it's
It's not ego.
in
You're just in your place.
it's edifying the Leo energy of the sun. So they said that the sun was going to be at a solar minimum this year, which means the sun experiences 11-year cycles, right, of activity. They said this year was the lowest activity, right, because they locked all of the melanated people in their house, right? So we have an intricate
Oh wow.
relationship to the sun.
Right.
We bounce off of one another because it's light refracting light.
That's right.
You understand? So
Come outside.
the person who created Windows, which is 4 boxes, this is what the Windows logo look like, right? 4 boxes with a cross, right? Microsoft was created on April 4th, 1975, right? On 4/4, right? And Bill Gates stepped down after 44 years, right? Just to make sure the niggas know.
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah,
That
wait, what
deserves
much
a
shit is
bomb.
that?
It's bomb time.
Bruh.
He needs some milk.
So, Bill Gates, the progenitor of this 44 energy, said, "I'm gonna put these niggas in a box."
He needs some
Because
milk.
if any of us grew up on any cartoons, right? What was the main theme of all of the cartoons that we grew up on? What was the main theme of the Marvel Universe? It was the Cosmic Cube.
Yeah.
In Transformers, it was the Electron. G.I. Joe, they was hunting for the cube, right? Every cartoon that we grew up with primed us about the cube and how to create energy based on the cube. The cube represented energy.
Avengers 1 was about.
No, the whole Marvel universe,
Well, true.
starting with Iron Man first, was about the Tesseract.
Yeah.
So you're a cube inside of a cube, because we're a cube. Just like they said God is a cube. So it's a cube inside of a cube.
Yes,
This is inside of a cube, because they said the planet is a cube.
yes.
This is inside of a cube, we in the mind of God. So it's cubes inside of cubes inside of cubes inside of cubes.